Do you feel like every time you make a payment to your health or life insurance policy, you're making a payment to the multi-billion-dollar industry and feeling like you're being totally smacked down? You know, wrestling reference, smackdown. Anyway, there are better options. Deal with an independent broker, someone who does the shopping just for you. Timmy Hudson has been in the business for 4 years and is certified for anything from health, Medicare, life, and even annuities. Give Timmy Hudson a call at 770-361-8271. Once again, give Timmy Hudson a call at 770-361-8271. There are not many things in life that are guaranteed except for one. Timmy Hudson will treat you just like family, no matter if you need health, Medicare, life, or even annuities. And that Alex Cheese and David Fine, Retro Wrestling Rewind, look back at Super Brawl 2 begins now. Welcome in to Retro Wrestling Rewind, episode number 14. As always, I am former retired professional wrestling ring announcer David Fine. I am one half of the greatest podcast tag team in the history of professional wrestling in our great sport. As always, my tag team partner in this journey is the great Alex G. Alex, welcome in to Super Brawl 2.
What's going on, man?
I mean, Super Brawl 2, last week we covered Starrcade 87 Chi-Town Heat, which was an okay show. The wrestling was good. The booking, What were your overall thoughts before we get into the whole show of Super Brawl 2?
Can we talk about Jesse Ventura?
How
Jesse Ventura debuts on this show.
How he had a hat on with his ponytail at the back. I am not a Jesse the Body Ventura fan. I'm not a fan of
my friend, are on crack. Because Jesse is the best color commentator of all time. Now, a lot of people will say Bobby, and you're not necessarily wrong. It's just a preference because they're both equally as great. I just prefer Jesse. Jesse is awesome. Jesse, at this point, you know what? Not for nothing in WCW, he wasn't necessarily all that much of heel. He was kind of a tweener because he always had his favorites, right? So he always would cheer Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, but he would also cheer on kind of like Ricky Steamboat. He loved Ricky Steamboat. He loved Rick Rude. So you can really tell the wrestlers that he enjoyed watching in the ring. So that was interesting to see. And then it's funny to me, when we talk about WrestleMania 6 at some point, we got to talk about Jesse's aborted face turn. That's going to happen after that because he is clearly a face at the end of WrestleMania 6, and no one ever talks about that.
No. But
this is in the midst of the Kip Allen Fry era. Again, this is the era between Jim Herd and Bill Watts. And, Kip, not for nothing, I know he gets ragged on a little bit or whatever, especially by Watts. But he did some kind of interesting things. He revamped the Saturday Night Show to make it more of a primetime wrestling show, which is interesting. I thought that show was pretty good. I mean, I'm not necessarily a big fan of the celebrities he brought on, but he did. He was able to get like Lawrence Taylor and what have you. I don't know why Jason Hervey was on there, but those seem like fun. And this is kind of like if you look at a show that you want to see a show that represents the Kip Allen Fry era in WCW. It's definitely Super Brawl 2.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad show. I mean,
the show was good. There's lots of great matches on here. You have your Pillman Liger match. You have your Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton versus the Steiner brothers, Rick Rude and Ricky Steamboat. It's fucking amazing. The Luger and Sting is Luger and Sting.
And the one match that could have been a main event anywhere in some kind of gymnasium, Big Josh taking on Diamond Dallas Page. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that was a dark match. It is. I mean, that was a.
Not for nothing. I'd be interested in actually watching that match because Big Josh, the former Matt Bourne, who is not Doink the Clown yet, he's a hell of a worker in the ring. Yeah. And they had him play a character that didn't know how to wrestle, which is ironic to me. And obviously DDP is in his wrestling infancy here. So
yeah, it was before his.
But this card is chock full of Dangerous Alliance, and not for nothing, Dangerous Alliance one of the greatest stables of all time.
Really?
I would put him above DX.
Well, we're gonna have to. You know what, folks? That sounds like
they go under the Horsemen. They go under. They go under NWO, but then. And you could probably put him under the First Family, but still better than the X.
Yeah, I mean,
Nation of Domination.
ugh, God, Nation. Anyway, but
I
let's
have a
get.
friend of mine who loves the Nation of Domination and always pitches to bring them back. He's like, man, they should bring back the Nation of Domination and put the New Day with Bobby Lashley, like all the time. He always pitches that. He goes back to that. He really loves the Nation of Domination.
How would you think that would go over nowadays?
It wouldn't work. It didn't work back then.
Yeah, but something that did work. The first match, the great Brian Pillman defeated Jushin Thunder Liger for the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship of the World, as Gary Michael Capetta kept on saying about all the titles. What were your thoughts on this match? It went 17 minutes exactly.
Fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Fucking beautiful fucking match. These guys worked great together. We would see them wrestle a few different times throughout the years, and they always brought it. Pillman is probably at his, I would say he was almost at his peak here physically, not as a character. That would come a little bit later. But physically, Brian Pillman is literally like God walking on water at this point. Like, he is amazing.
And what are your thoughts on Thunder Liger? I mean,
I've met Liger in person, and he's awesome in person. Super nice guy. And he is, if you want to name my top 5 Japanese wrestlers, he's definitely on the list, along with like Muda. Like, I love fucking Jushin Thunder Liger. He's fucking awesome. He had a fucking awesome match with Daniel Bryan in Ring of Honor. That was fucking off the fucking charts.
Yeah, I mean, he is a great wrestler. I mean, and he still, I think,
and he had a lot of injuries too, and he adapted his style. So he'd have to, he couldn't really work that cruiserweight style all that much anymore, but still just as good. And he always likes to put his thumb in people's butts.
Huh.
So you get the thumbs up or 2 thumbs up.
The butt. Thumbs, 2 thumbs up the butt. Anyway.
Whatever you're into.
I mean, anyway. He still wrestled recently. I mean, I think I've seen him on one of the New Japan shows. They
he's still around. He does a lot of American indies too. He was at an NXT Takeover. I was there. I was at that show in Brooklyn.
Huh. Are you going to go to the NXT show in 2019?
I am not. I'm going to the Ring of Honor show instead.
Yeah, that's actually a good. Because
I mean, historically, I would have went to the NXT Takeover show, and I historically would have picked NXT over Ring of Honor. But the fact that it's Ring of Honor and MSG changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things.
Because I'm a bigger fan of NXT than Ring of Honor at this point.
Yeah, but you're also a fan of. You're surprised that they actually got into MSG.
I'm shocked. This is history. I'm all about history. I want to be there, and I want to be ringside, floor level, what have you. And my seat is the closest next to the aisleway, so I'll be there, pretty, not in the front row. I think I'm in the 7th row back, but still fairly close. That's around the same seat that I sat in for WrestleMania 20. So I know how it kind of looks, and it's a really good view, and it's history. I mean, this is the first time in a very long time that someone not WWF have ran the Garden. And that's very important.
And hopefully that opens it. Hopefully it opens up, other promotions going in there. But
I heard that AAA wanted to run in there, so we'll see if AAA gets in there because I'll go to that show too.
Yeah, man, we'll see if they. I mean, this could open up things. But the next match,
your favorite wrestler, Terrence Taylor.
No, my favorite
Marcus Alexander Bagwell.
I'm a big Marcus Alexander Bagwell fan. I think he was early.
Do you go on CowboysForAngels.com? Do you frequent that site?
Didn't want to admit it, but maybe. I don't have a pro.
He sells his underwear too, so it's no big deal.
That's gross. But he defeated Terrence Taylor. I mean, Terry Taylor, he went through so many incarnations. He was the Red Rooster. He was a tailor-made man. He was Terrence Taylor. I mean,
I prefer the tailor-made man personally.
Do you prefer Ricky Morton or Richard Morton?
I'm a Ricky Morton man, but what's funny about Richard Morton? We'll see it later on the show. He doesn't change his gear. He's still in his Rock and Roll Express gear.
Yeah, and he still had that mullet.
He still has that mullet.
Yeah, I mean, I think does he? Yeah, he still has it now. I mean, it's not. But I mean, Mark.
If it works, but you stick with it. Men and their hairstyles. Once a man finds what works for them, it's very difficult for them to change it. So
Yeah. It's kind of like me. I mean, I decided to shave my head because I wasn't going bald, but I was kind of thinning out, and now I kind of like, being shaved clean. But
if I shaved my head, I look like the Puerto Rican version of Steve Austin.
I mean, it could be worse. I mean, you could be the Puerto Rican version of me, but yeah, that would probably be worse. But kind of going back to Marcus Bagwell, he was involved in that incident. I think it was on a Thunder where he got paralyzed for a minute. Wasn't
Yeah,
that?
he broke his neck because Rick Steiner with that bulldog.
Yeah.
The second old bulldog.
What year was that?
I'd say 90, 98, 99.
Yeah.
And now people on Twitter would be on Twitter all outraged saying that how Rick Steiner is so dangerous in the ring and blah 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 blah, looking for something to be mad about.
Good thing
Be
they
mad
didn't-
about your face. How about that?
Whoa. Hey, just because most of our listeners probably aren't the best looking people, they're not the
I'm not talking about our listeners. Our listeners are beautiful.
they're not the Puerto Rican Steve Austin. So man,
Puerto Rican Steve Austin.
That's
But
how
I've seen a lot of shenanigans and tomfoolery on Twitter as of late. And we'll talk about it on a future show. My thoughts on why people have bad takes all the time, and it's weird to me.
That sounds like a future show. I cannot wait.
Like I don't call them hot takes. I call them frozen takes because it's garbage. It's all fucking garbage.
And speaking of a match that could have been garbage, but it was not bad. Ron Simmons, he hadn't won the world title yet. Defeated probably my favorite wrestler and one of the nicest people I've ever met, Cactus Jack.
Do you know that his supposedly his niece tutored me in math when I was in fifth grade?
Huh.
She's like, "Hey kid, do you like wrestling?" She was like 14 or whatever. She's like, "Hey kid, do you like wrestling?" I'm like, "Yeah." You know my uncle is Cactus Jack? I'm like, "No way." I don't know if she was lying to me or not.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on this match? I mean, Ron Simmons,
Perfectly acceptable wrestling here. No issues here. I mean, Cactus Jack is awesome. Ron Simmons he's ascending, right?
yeah.
So, you put him in there with Cactus, it's fine. It's good stuff.
I mean, Ron Simmons, what were your thoughts on, it's kind of going to different show, but when he was in Doom, what were your thoughts, when he was in, teamed up with Hacksaw Butch Reed as,
I love Doom. I like Doom post masks though.
Yeah.
Because it was weird how they did it. Because Ron Simmons and Butch Reed started teaming, and they vanished for a few weeks, and then these two giant black dudes come back with masks on, and everyone knew who they were for the longest time. Eventually, the Steiner brothers unmasked them, and then they went on to win the World Tag Team Championship. So,
yeah, it's kind of like back then
I wanted to see that Doom versus Horseman feud that never really went anywhere because that would have been fucking dope.
Yeah,
like when Teddy Long kidnapped Ric Flair in the limo like that, and you had Arn Anderson and Barry Windham go to the hood and cut promos there. Like that's some really good stuff. So yeah, I really wish I would have saw that kind of play out more.
Why do you think that didn't play out? Did you think they just is like
Black fucking Scorpion? That's why.
Sting. Anyway.
Once we'll do that show one time, but I was all in on the Black Scorpion.
Why?
Because I definitely knew it was the Ultimate Warrior, and it wasn't.
But it wasn't. You probably also
because
thought
because all the fucking clues, it would either have to be the Ultimate Warrior, the Angel of Death, or Eddie Gilbert, and it was none of those guys.
But did you also think that Dusty Rhodes wasn't the Midnight Rider?
Well, no, we knew he was the Midnight Rider, and that was the whole joke.
God.
But Flair, you can never. I don't think Flair was never underneath the Black Scorpion mask until Starrcade.
Yeah,
it was Al Perez. There was a bunch of other dudes, but it was never Flair. It was never intended to be Flair. And you know what's funny? Ole Anderson claims that was Dusty Rhodes' idea, and unless Dusty Rhodes was booking from a locker room at the WWF, nope, that's all Ole's idea.
But who have you heard anything on the streets in the rumor and innuendo who it was supposed to be? If it wasn't supposed to be Flair.
They had no one. They didn't have an idea.
They didn't have an idea, so they were like,
they didn't have it finished. I think they were going with Angel of Death because he was in that he was with that crew with Warrior, Sting, and the Rick Bassman group or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the idea was to do that, I guess, but no, they didn't have it finished.
Wow. Yeah, speaking of a match that should not have had a finish, and it went 12 minutes and 1 second, 12 minutes too long, the great Van Hammer.
I know you're a big Van Hammer fan.
Oh, I'm a big Van Hammer mark. I'm a Z-Man mark.
Z-Man.
They defeated Richard Morton and the great Vinny Vegas, the man who went on to, I mean, he went to be on to be
Did you
something
think in
pretty
2
big.
years that he would be the WWF champion?
No.
That's how ridiculous.
I mean, what are your thoughts on his Vinny Vegas gimmick? I mean, it was.
I like the gimmick. I thought the gimmick was cool. They did nothing with him though. They had him like in arm wrestling matches against Tony Atlas and shit. Like, they never did anything with it. The best incarnation of Vinny Vegas is when he was hanging out with DDP, Scotty Flamingo, and the Diamond Stud. That was a cool little group there.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, maybe Tony Atlas will be at WrestleCon. I mean, he's always.
Tony Atlas is awesome. I've met Tony Atlas, and he really works it.
You know who's probably going to be at WrestleCon? Virgil.
I don't know if he's not in the building. You know, Marty Jannetty's not allowed at WrestleCon because he got caught stealing DVDs at the last WrestleCon in New York. So I was there for that. That was awesome.
Whose DVDs was he stealing?
I don't know. He was swiping like the way WrestleCon in New Jersey had it. Like they split I guess with the convention center or whatever it was, and it had a curtain, right? And behind the curtain was the ring, and that's where they had the wrestling shows going on. So like after like 6 o'clock or whatever, everyone would go over and go to the show. So everyone's tables would be fucking empty. And according to people who were there, and I yelling Marty Jannetty, that Marty Jannetty was swiping shit off the gimmicks tables.
Oh God! Wow. Allegedly, but you know that's neither here nor there. Rumor and innuendo.
I saw him wrestle at Chicago. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean this match. I mean, for a Van Hammer match. I mean, I heard Van Hammer thought he was bigger shit. Than
Van Hammer had good matches with Cactus Jack, though.
Really?
He did. Yeah, he did. Go back and watch him. Yeah. I mean, that's all Cactus. We all know that, but for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fucking Van Hammer. I'm surprised Vince wasn't fucking all over him, by the way. Like, he looks like a Vince guy.
Yeah, he does. But
look how vascular he is. That kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, God.
The striation.
I mean,
because they didn't take Van Hammer, but they took fucking Max Payne and made him Mad Mountain Rock. They had a similar gimmick. They're both guitar playing guys. And I'm still shocked. Like, there's guys out there that I'm surprised that Vince doesn't pick up, knowing how he feels about big, jacked up bodybuilder types like Brian Cage. You know who Brian Cage is, right?
Yep.
He's fucking ginormous. And he wrestles like a cruiserweight. And he's a fucking amazing. If I was booking a territory today, he'd be my world champion.
Yeah, he is rather
large. Why is he not on WWE TV? That's a guy Vince would love.
He is rather large.
He is freaking huge. Like, he's bigger than, like, the Warlord.
Yeah, and the Warlord was huge, but God, compared to Brian Cage, he's...
Yeah, the guy's like Ultimate Warrior big.
Yeah, we know how... anyway. Next match, Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes defeated Steve Austin and the living legend, the Cruncher, Larry Zbyszko. Thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it was... Steve Austin, I think, kind of lost his way during this time frame. Anytime when someone stopped wearing knee pads is an issue for me. That's why I was not a fan of Cody Rhodes for the longest time, because he just refused to wear knee pads forever. So right after this, he would lose his knee pads that he had and stop wearing them. But at this point, Steve Austin, he's coming off, I don't think he's not currently the TV champion, although he might be. But Steve Austin is still in his in his old school Steve Austin kind of look, long hair, tights with the multicolored on him, and he's still, this is still very early Steve Austin.
Yeah.
He was a great pickup for the Dangerous Alliance here. But him and Zbyszko, I mean, it's fun enough, and fucking Wyndham and Dustin are an amazing team. Like Dustin Rhodes gets a lot of shit, especially being Dustin Rhodes during this time frame. But if there wasn't someone called about, there was someone that name fit him so well. Like, he was the fucking natural.
Yeah.
Like, people don't understand how fucking young he was and how good he got real fucking fast.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great wrestler. I mean, he still wrestles now. I mean, how many years has he been in the WWE?
I guess on and off since 95.
Yeah, so more than 20 years. I mean, it's like,
I mean, the only one that has as long a tenure is probably Kane, or if you don't count the Undertaker or Shawn Michaels.
and we don't. But I mean, it was a good match. I mean, it was.
It was fine. It was good. Again, I like this. Like they had good wrestling during this time frame for WCW. Like there was nothing fucking awful. You know what was awful? The fucking attendance on the show. Fucking 5,000 people. For fuck's sake.
Why do you think that was? I mean, it's
I blame Gary Juster.
why?
Because he would book weird arenas. I don't know if he's even booking the arenas at this point. But usually when there's something that poorly booked, like this card on paper should have drew more than 5,000 people, no matter how bad the TV was.
Yeah.
Like you have Sting versus Luger, in this main event, in this feud that's been boiling over for a couple of months here, and this show should have done a hell of a lot better, and it didn't. And I'm curious about why.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I don't know why. It's, I mean, was the WWF?
No, they were doing pretty shitty too. I mean, this is February '92, so you're right. You're right in the Flair title run here. Flair just wins he wins the belt as Royal Rumble, so they're quickly on their way to WrestleMania 8. So they're about to do that at the fucking Hoosier Dome.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the show, may have been the show where they were talking about where they were going to Japan. Was WCW going to do a Japanese show, or is this?
They just came back.
Oh yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts on that show?
I mean, I love the fucking WCW New Japan Super Show, and that one would have been Super Show 2, which is the first January 4th Dome show, which would evolve into Wrestle Kingdom. So this is like the first Wrestle Kingdom show.
Yeah.
Main event of that show was Sting and the Great Muta taking on the Steiner Brothers, and that's a fucking fantastic match.
Yeah, I mean,
Choshu and Fujinami was fucking awesome. Yeah, Noki versus Hoshihase was awesome. Vader versus Elegante, not so much. You had Dusty and Dustin taking on Masa Saito and Kim Duck. You had Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko versus O'Hara and Shinjo Kuchinaka. So you had good matches on that show. I mean, it was really, really good. Now, I don't remember if this particular show aired I might have aired in the United States. Yeah, it was aired in the United States. So, that one was fun. They did 50,000 people at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I mean, they always
and fucking Muta's awesome. Muta and Sting tag team is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Muta and Sting, they're both great. I mean, and speaking of a tag team that
Muta's going to be in New York for WrestleMania.
Oh, he is he?
He is.
Huh. Interesting. That should be great. I mean, the show, I mean, I'm hoping that WrestleMania will be a good show. I mean, the Ring of Honor show is going to be great. I mean, from what they've announced, and I think the whole weekend is going to be
fun, but you get fucking. I'll tell you this. I did Thursday. Last time I did Thursday to Monday. Actually Thursday to Tuesday, and that shit completely burnt me out. Like I couldn't even talk about wrestling for like a month.
What?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Don't do that this year, because.
Because I went to like 12 shows.
I mean, they have like 20 shows.
I went to 12 shows. I went to WrestleCon for 3 days, and I went to WWE Access too. And I was just fucking burnt. I met Terry Funk though.
I mean, they do have the Joey Ryan penis party. So I mean that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm all about that.
I mean, it's got 10 matches, and then I think they're probably gonna have a Joey Janela show. I mean, they're gonna have so much stuff.
I mean, he's hurt, so I don't know if he's gonna be healed up in time.
Well, I mean, they could have a show that he's promoting, but
yes, I've been trying to get him on Twitter to book Van Hammer.
Oh, folks, if you wanna see us,
I want to see Van Hammer versus Bob Holly.
What are you? You're a terrible booker.
That's awesome. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think so. But speaking of what is awesome, if you want to see us, maybe meet us. We're going to try to do a meetup at WrestleCon somewhere. You have to be a Patreon. I mean, hell, you don't even have to be a Patreon. But if you want to be a Patreon, you get some extra stuff. It's patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. That's all one word. You can be the Western States champion. You can be the TV champion. You can be the national champion, or you could be the ultimate champion. You could be the world champion, and you could be on the show every 30 days like a true world champion is. We have so much stuff coming up on Patreon. Of course, we have a lot of stuff coming up here on just the normal show, but on Patreon, we have so much other stuff, and we're going to have a lot of stuff, coming up. 2019's coming up soon. April's going to be coming up soon. We're going to be in New York at the Hilton in Manhattan. Alex is going to be there from Thursday to Sunday.
I'm going to be hanging out with Missy Hyatt the entire time.
I mean, she is going to be there. And also, and I'm finally going to be able to corner my good friend, Bill Abner, and get him on the program because he's been avoiding me like the plague, even though we're friends and we know each other.
We should talk about his influence on putting in the Lawler Kaufman stuff together.
I mean,
he was very important in that.
We'll definitely have to get him on the program. And another person that's not confirmed, but about 99%, Gary Michael Capetta is going to be making a second appearance on the program in person. I'm going to take my gear up there. We're going to be legit. It's going to be awesome. Don't know where exactly, what booth we're going to be in, but we're kind of working on that behind the scenes. Hopefully by the time you listen to this, we'll have something put together. But definitely in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some announcements where we're going to, if we just have to do a show or a meet up, just in the hallway or at a bar at the hotel, we're going to do it. Just go on to patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders, become a patron. Or if you even follow us on Twitter, just say, hey, I'm going to be at WrestleCon, WrestleMania weekend, April of next year, 2019. We look forward to meeting each and every one of you. And what were your thoughts on the Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton combination? I mean, they were both great tag team wrestlers and both great champions, but together, I mean, what were your thoughts on that combination?
I thought they were really good. I mean, they're in this time frame again. They are the WCW World Tag Team Champions, so members of the Dangerous Alliance. I mean, you can't go wrong with Anderson and Eaton as a tag team.
Yeah, I mean, they defeated the great Steiner brothers, Rick Steiner and Scott.
This is a match where a blind Rick Steiner, belly to belly is a referee, which is awesome.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Steiners? I mean, back in the day, they were awesome, but I mean, now that you're older and it's 2018, what are your thoughts on the Steiner brothers? I mean,
I like the Steiners when they went to the WWF. Like, they were fantastic before they went to the WWF. And they had some decent matches afterwards in WCW after they came back, but the Steiners in WCW from, I guess, 89 to 92, late 92, early 93, like, they're just on a different level than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Scott Steiner fan now because he's just crazy and jacked. But back, when he wasn't jacked and he was just...
He was always jacked.
Oh, I mean, compared to what he is now...
Comparatively speaking, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't, he had his Michigan outfit on and he was... doing all that stuff. I was great.
The Frankensteiner itself is like, whoa. As like in terms of like signature finishing maneuvers, like it's that and like the Diamond Cutter where those moves are like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's referred, in wrestling, in terms and like when people call matches, they call stuff the Frankenstein. I mean, it's one of those moves that will live on in infamy. I mean, this match, it is what it is. I mean, the Steiner brothers, they lost. They didn't win the WCW World Tag Team Championships, but they've of course gone to be multi-champions.
Yeah, they would come back. They would win. They win the WWF Tag Team Champions. They come back to WCW and win WCW Tag Team Championship again. So this is not the end for the Steiner brothers by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I mean it's definitely not. They were good back then, but they
won the belts. The Steiners win the belt like in the very 2 months from here at a house show in Chicago. So,
I mean, what are your thoughts on, speaking of house shows? I mean, what are your thoughts on people winning titles at house shows? I mean,
it's not bad. It's not a bad idea to do it and then to show it on TV, but don't do it and never show it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the whole Intercontinental title, how that came about. They because that didn't ever actually happen. The tournament that they had in Rio de Janeiro
Nope.
back in the day.
Like
So
Patterson beat DiBiase for the North American Championship, and then he went down to Rio de Janeiro and won the South American Championship, and those belts together, I guess, make up the Intercontinental Championship.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't know. The next match. I mean, it was 20 minutes 2 seconds. It was for the United. It was for the WCW
This
United
match
States
is
Heavyweight
dope.
Championship. Rick Rude, the champion, taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Thoughts on
Like
this
these
match?
guys had so much good chemistry. Rick Rude is at his prime here. Ricky Steamboat is still Ricky Steamboat. And anytime you see Paul Heyman in a ninja outfit, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Heyman. I mean,
Paul Heyman is a ninja.
Ninja Paul Heyman.
Yeah, he hits Ricky Steamboat with the phone, and Rick Rude gets the win here. But this match was awesome. This would be a couple of great matches they would have. They would have an Iron Man match like Beach Blast. That's fucking amazing. And Rude would do I guess at that point they had off the top rope rule where it's a disqualification when you jump off the top rope. So Rick Rude would hit fucking Ricky Steamboat off the top rope, get disqualified, and then pin him 1, 2, 3. So it kind of clear it out. Like that's fucking awesome.
I mean, what were your thoughts on that rule? I mean, it was.
Oh, that was trash. I understand what Watts was trying to do. It's just it didn't work.
What was he trying to do?
He was trying to make people who do moves off the top rope more special because he felt at the time that there was too many wrestlers coming off the top rope. So the people that could do it extremely well should be the only people doing it, and it would make it special when they did it. So,
But if they did it, they would be disqualified.
well, I guess it would lead up to oh, the rule has been lifted for this particular match.
How did that work out?
It didn't. It never got to that point. Eventually, they did a thing on TV where they had a poll and people, I think, called the hotline and voted to discontinue it.
Did they call 1-900-909-9900?
They did. Yeah, they did.
Kids, get your parents' permission before calling. It only costs
Or not.
$10 a minute.
Or not. I didn't. Did you?
Well, no, but there was a hotline
I
here.
talked to Chris Cruz on the fucking hotline. What are you talking about?
Hey, well, I called a hotline here in Atlanta. Now it's the one that
I
you
know
call.
the girls hotline.
No, yeah, well, anyway, that's for another
Was it
podcast.
the Bobby Brown fucking hotline? Because that hotline was dope.
No, it was called 511, and now it's the what you call if you get broke down on the side of the road and you need.
Oh, I thought
need
it was
to
like
hear-
I thought it was the equivalent to Tinder.
Yes, I swiped up, swiped left, swiped down. It was awesome. Good Lord, you're gonna get me in trouble, buddy. Speaking of a match,
If we're not in trouble by now, I don't think that we're gonna get in trouble.
you know where we're gonna get in trouble?
I've already got yelled at 3 times today, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's you got yelled at 3 times. I
I'm
got yelled.
perpetually in the doghouse anyway.
I mean, I got yelled at 3 times by my son tonight, but that's neither here nor there. And he was like, I don't like Sam Houston. That's what he sounded like. That he sounded like
He knows what he's talking about, too.
he's like, I don't like Sam Houston. I'm like, what? He's like, but I like John Cena. I'm like, you're not my son anymore.
I want to take 1984 Kendall Windham and Sam Houston out to dinner to make sure they eat.
I mean, Kendall Windham, good Lord, he was skinny.
He's fucking huge now. He looks, You know what's funny about the Windhams? As they get older, the more they look like Blackjack and Mulligan.
Yeah, and not in a good way. It's not like they're huge, like a Brian Cage.
I'm not going
huge.
to tell that to Barry Windham. You can go ahead and tell that to Barry Windham if you like. I'm not going to do that.
No, if he's going to be at
Hey,
Wrestle
Barry.
Hey,
He
Barry.
thinks you look like shit.
He'd be like, who? That guy. I'll be, oh, God. Speaking of guys
Gonna
that,
give you a superplex.
yeah, no. He'll give me the claw in the face. And what were your thoughts on that move? I mean, did you think that would actually hurt?
I mean, no.
Anyway, speaking of the main event, Sting taking on the Total Package Lex Luger. He was a champion
Ginormous.
with Harley
Lex-
Race for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Luger is twice the size that he normally is by the show. It's funny. Cameron Fry would go out and say that he instituted drug testing and all his wrestlers were going to be clean And then Luger comes out and he's immediately apologized in the media about the appearance of Lex Luger.
Maybe he meant the wrestlers were going to take showers. That means they were clean. But yeah, there's
Well,
no
this is
way.
Luger's last show too. Luger is done after this.
Oh, because he goes to the WWF,
He does not. He goes to the WBF.
the World Bodybuilding Federation.
He sure does, with all the striations and and all the vascularness.
Oh, God. I mean, what were your
We're going to
thoughts?
talk about. We're going to do that one day. That's going to be a Patreon special because I have those tapes. So
Yeah, you're gonna have to send me those tapes because
I don't know. I don't know if I can legally distribute those through the mail
yeah, well, I
without
mean,
getting some sort of indecency charge.
yeah, please don't do that. But I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, the whole show. I mean, last week we covered Starcade 87 Chi-Town Heat. That was a good show. Terrible booking. What were your thoughts on this show? I mean,
It's a good show. It didn't fucking draw though, which is sad to me. Like let's go back to the Sting and Luger match again. This is Sting's quest to regain the heavyweight championship world. He won Battle Bowl, which is a whole nother fucking bowl of wax that we'll talk about at some point. But we have Sting here, and this is after Luger was sending him mysterious gifts that ended up being like Cactus Jack and Abdul the Butcher, and he's kind of aligned with Medusa, but not really. And Sting's still feuding with Rick Rude at that point, and Luger is doing Luger things. I think he had a match with Ron Simmons at Halloween Havoc, and that was I guess a pseudo racist angle, which we'll talk about when we talk about that show because it's weird and slightly uncomfortable for me. But at this point, this should be Sting's crowning moment. Luger's gone. Sting's going to be, he'll go on to be the champion. He'll be the champion for a good long while. And it only draws 5,000 people.
I mean, it's
What did Wrestle 192, though? Hold on. Wrestle 192 did 6,000 people. So,
again,
WCW is not drawing.
I mean, and speaking of Wrestle War 92, it was the next show in the old pay-per-view of WCW. So it's like, I mean, I don't know. It was just kind of their decline. It's like they
Beach
went.
Blast did 5,000 people. Great American Bash did 8. Halloween Havoc did 7, which is, I guess, and then Battle Bowl Starcade did 8,000 in the Omni, which is just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Omni fan, but if people, want if they're fans of not just this, but of retro wrestling video games, I mean, I already know how to get, how to get on the old YouTube and find your show. But if people aren't in the know and they're just listening to us for the first time, how do they find your show on YouTube?
So this is what you do. You go on the YouTube, you go to the little search bar there, you type in retro wrestling games, right? You hit the little hourglass or whatever, the magnifying glass, and it will be the first thing that pops up. So make sure, before you watch any videos, though, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, hit a like button on the video, then you can start watching. We have over 245 videos currently up for your perusal, and definitely check those out. We talk about various topics like the NWA 1984 project, where we talk about all things wrestling, but we have a focus on professional wrestling in 1984 across the country and across the world. We do our Retro Wrestling Games Presents, which is our video game review show. So what should be up by the time of this video is our review of WWE 2K18, which, you may like, hey, that's not a retro wrestling game. Came out a year ago. It sure is. We are on a mission to review every single wrestling video game of all time. That does include the 2K games as well. So,
I mean, what were your thoughts on the 2K game?
the last one was shit. The one before that was shit. The one before that was pretty good. I haven't played the new one yet.
I mean, folks, he knows his retro wrestling video games. And of course, he also knows his retro wrestling. But folks, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at the RW Rewind. Follow us. Leave us a comment. We're booked up on the shows for a couple more shows, but after that, we're looking for topics. We will cover anything retro wrestling. I mean, if you want to talk about the legacy of Sam Houston. If you want to talk about the career of the great Kendall Windham, you want to talk about the great Lasertron. I mean,
Your favorite wrestler is Demon.
or if you want to talk about the the Zeman, or hell, if for some strange reason you want to cover the career of Virgil and talk about how him having
Soul Train Jones was awesome. I don't know why Vince didn't sign Soul Train Jones.
yeah, I mean that's
Soul Train Jones is so much better than Virgil.
yeah, well, I know, but if you want to do that, just follow us on Twitter at the RW Rewind. Of course, we're on the web, the World Wide Web, the www, as they would say. Just type in RetroWrestlingRewind.com. We have all of our shows up there. We have our social medias. We have we have our Patreon. Of course, that's patreon.com/Retro Wrestling Rewinders. We have tiers to be the Western States champion, the TV champion, the national champion, the world champion. That's our top tier. That gets you everything plus a lot more. I mean, we have so many things up on Patreon. We talked about the current product on one of the shows. One of the newer shows that we have up there, we talk about the Attitude Era. If you want to know, mine and Alex G's take on the Attitude Era, you got to be a Patreon. Patreon.com/Retro Wrestling Rewinders. You got to be at least at the $5 level to get that. But I mean, any level, we thank you. But for the great Alex G, as always, I am David Fine. Next week, we talk about the very first Clash of the Champions. That's Clash of the Champions 1. What are your thoughts as we end the program on Clash of the Champions 1?
They had a Penthouse Playmate as one of the judges on the main event, which is weird.
Yeah, I think it was the breakout for Sting.
Oh, by far.
I mean, it's one of the same. I mean, if you want to know our honest opinion and our look back, you have to subscribe.
Well, let me ask you this. What else is on that show?
A lot of great matches.
You don't know what's on that show.
I do. I just watched it last week.
Okay, what else is on that show?
I don't know. I don't know. But if you want to,
could it be a one match show that happened the same night as WrestleMania 4?
Huh. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. You'll have to listen on episode Clash of the Champions. That's next week right here on Retro Wrestling Rewind. We'll see you back here next week.